Welcome to this episode of You Are There. Our first guest is Mary Hayes McCauley, aka Molly Pitcher. Molly, how are you today?
I'm great, how are you?
I have a couple questions for you. First, how did the Revolutionary War affect you during that time?
Well, it affected me because I was in the middle of the bullet-swept battlefield. I was by my husband's side and I would bring water to him and all the exhausted soldiers. They began to call me Pitcher, Molly Pitcher.
That's amazing. So how did you actually engage in combat?
Well, my husband was injured during the Battle of Monmouth in New Jersey in 1778, so without hesitation I rushed to the cannons and began firing. I remember how freezing it was outside, but there was no time to think about it.
So brave. How has it affected your life now?
Well, me and my husband returned back to Pennsylvania, and unfortunately, a few years later, he passed away. I received pension for serving in the war. A few years later, I married an unemotional idiot. We split, and now I am living on my own on the streets, struggling to survive.
So brave. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Our next guest has requested to keep her identity hidden. Would you mind giving us a name?
Ann Bates.
Welcome, Ann. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Ann Bates. I am a school teacher in Philadelphia, but I was also a spy for the British during the Revolutionary War.
And how were you able to manage sneaking past enemy lines during the war?
I snuck through American lines by pretending to be a peddler and sold goods to them. During this, I eavesdropped on many conversations and reported back to Major John Andre.
Fascinating. And what did you do on your spy missions?
I listened on to conversations, checked out gun locations, and even walked into George Washington's headquarters and reported back to my major.
Were you ever caught?
No, never. In 1780, my spy career ended and I was given no more missions. My husband and I sailed to England in 1781, but he later left me. Fortunately, I was petitioned for a small pension for my work in America.
That's amazing. Thank you for your time. Now with us we have war widow Nancy Jones. Thank you for being with us, Nancy.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, in what ways were you involved in the war?
Well, but before my husband was killed in the war, I became a camp follower, and me and my children followed him to war. While we were there, I worked with other wives as a nurse, and I aided to the injured soldiers, doing things like changing bandages, feeding the wounded, and cleaning up after them.
That was so heroic. Now, what responsibilities have you taken on since your husband was killed in the war?
Well, now I'm a single parent. I have to be both the mother and father of the household. I still have to take care of my kids, clean up after them, do laundry, make their clothes, and make sure that I'm able to pay the bills. But without my husband, things have been hard.
How are you and your family surviving financially now?
Well, it's been really hard. We've been struggling, but because he was killed in the war, I'm able to apply for pension money, which is government money meant to help out widows and their children. So I applied for that, but in order to do it, I had to show document proof that he was killed in the line of duty and that we were married before the war began. But even that's not paying all the bills, so I had to get a job as a seamstress.
Very brave. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next guest is a native Indian. How are you?
I'm fine.
And what tribe are you from?
I'm from the Mohawk tribe, and I'm married to Sir William Johnson, and I have 7 kids.
7?
Yes.
And when did you start your political activity?
I started my political activity when I was 18, and I accompanied a delegation of Mohawk elders to Philadelphia to discuss fraudulent land transactions.
And what was your life like during the revolution?
My life, after my husband died, I sheltered and fed the loyalists, and I sent ammunition to those who were fighting for the king.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do the women make the shirts themselves?
Yes, they do. Our small group of women is similar to the Daughters of Liberty, who had organized spinning bees in the early stages of the revolution. Their spinning bees may not have resulted in a large amount of cloth, but their efforts took on symbolic importance and demonstrated their support during times of struggle. Unfortunately, women were always recognized for their work.
What else did the women do to help the soldiers?
Well, many women on the home front cook, do laundry, knit, and work as nurses. They serve in both the fields and at the general hospitals for those who are sick and wounded. Women work for low wages no matter how important their work is. Women are crucial to the maintenance of the Army. They're also responsible for maintaining their homes and businesses while their husbands are gone.
That was fascinating. Thank you. Our next guest is via satellite, Jane Smith, the average white woman. Jane, since you're white, what was it like for you during the Revolution as a woman?
For me, as a white woman, it's very difficult. My husband went off to the war, fought for our country, but he left me. He left me at home. I had to learn how to take care of the farming, the home, our children. It caused me a lot of anxiety. And I don't really wish to further explain. However, I will let you know of this one instance. At one point, Patriot troops came to my home and tried to take advantage of me with my children in the house. It was nerve-wracking. I was scared. They almost got away with it. But somehow I pulled through, struggled, but I kept them off of me. It still haunts me today.
Fascinating. And since you're white, what kind of contributions did you make to the revolution?
As for my contribution to the war, Sister Reed actually asked me to contribute what I could. Any luxuries, anything that I had to the warfare. To send to the troops, to the soldiers, just to do as much as I could with what little I had left.
Amazing. And since you're white, do you feel you had it better or worse than women of other races since you're white?
I believe that there may have been other women out there that suffered more than I did. But I will not be belittled because my home was invaded. I gave up things for the revolution and it changed my life. After the war was over, I wasn't sure what to do. And frankly, I'm still not sure.
I see. Thank you for your time.
And now we have Sue the Slave. Hi Sue, how are you doing?
Fine.
So, why did you flee to the British camps?
Well, the governor of Virginia promised us that we were going to have freedom and protection. So we fled to British lines, their camps and stuff.
Hey, did they keep their word on that?
Nope. In fact, we were forced to do harder labor than we did on the plantations. When we were camped out in Philadelphia, they forced me, 14 other black women, 72 black men, and 8 black children to form a group that they called the Company of Black Pioneers. You know what we did? We had to assist in cleaning up the streets and getting rid of nuisances and stuff. That's like bodies.
Tragic. So was it worse than the plantations?
Yep, we were succumbed to all kinds of diseases like smallpox and things. And that British general, Alexander Leslie, he sent 700 Negroes down the river full of smallpox and sent them into the rebel plantations. You know, some kind of like germ warfare. It's rough. We weren't treated as people, we were treated as pawns.
Well, thank you for your time, Sue.
Ma'am.